Well, as you can see, I've got the top upside down here, and I just wanted to show I've got some threaded inserts in the bottom, and then I was missing one and I didn't feel like going to the store and getting another one, so I just super glued a 1/4 20 nut in over there, and I think that'll work because there's not much pressure going to be applied to it. It's for the router insert on the other side. So I'm going to create my own leveling system and see if it's something you might want to do rather than buy levelers all the time. My idea is to make levelers, and I've done this on another DIY insert, is to just put these wood screws in evenly around here, all the way around. I got one in here and one in here, and then two on the longer ends, and then two in each corner, and that will let me level everything up. And then these they really haven't vibrated or anything on my other insert, so this way I don't have to buy levelers or anything like that. And I've got threaded inserts down inside of here now, so once I do that, then I can bring my router plate dead even and it'll be all set. I went ahead and I did a little countersink. That way if I need to, I can plunge this threaded head all the way down, but then I'm just putting these in by hand because you want to be able to make them flush. And then what I do is I come back a little bit because I need to raise this up just slightly, and there we go. And hopefully this many points will make it so I can get my plate completely level. I've just set my screws in, just guesstimated it. Now I'm just going to set my router in here. There we go. I've got a little adjustment to go, but not much. Just a little bit higher, and I think I'll have it. And then I can just drop in my screws. That's the one thing I've noticed is if you don't tighten these down and then check it, it always seems to want to float. And that's on any router table with leveling feet of any kind. Craig, my Jessams, it doesn't matter. If you can't fasten the plate down tight, you may get some false readings on what's level and what's not, and then they start shifting a little bit. Okay, so I went ahead and just drilled in holes in my top here, and then I've got a line here that you're not going to see unless I slide it back. This is for the max distance for the 25-inch LS positioner. What I did was I didn't want it to overhang the back of my table all the time, so if I move it 7/8 of an inch up to be even with the 48-inch long top, most of the time that's where it'll stay and it won't hurt a thing. But then if I ever need that full capacity, I can just move it back 7/8 of an inch to this line and know that I've got my max capacity of 27 3/4. That's the setting for the front of the guide, and that gives you roughly, I think it's close to 25-inch capacity. So these holes are just centered in the bottom of the rack here. The bolt heads are centered here and here, and then we're just going to slide that on. So then we just take our 1/4 inch by 20 thread, and they're 2 inches long, and we're just going to drop those in on the end here, and then we just lift the heads up a little bit and slide this on, and then we can take our washers and our nuts, tighten everything down, and then we'll be secure. One of the things I didn't even think about, it just slipped my mind, I don't know why, was how to handle my templates. And I've got a video of this how I made my template organizer. Well, I forgot about it, and I designed this whole cabinet, and this is exactly 16 inches wide, so it won't fit in the cabinet laying down the way I wanted. But normally I get this out anyway, and I use it like a book. So I thought, well, I went ahead and scrapped my 2 sliding shelf idea on this side. I I pulled them out and I just went with little slotted pieces here for the books. Forgot about the books as well. And then the organizer. Then we just put our organizer in now like that. And I'm going to have a door. I don't know if I'm going to have one or two yet. Kind of designing on the fly a little bit as well. Same with, so one of those sliding drawer glides, I just made it into a drawer here. And we just got to build up the rest. I've got these two already. So I've just got to fill a small bit of cavity here with more drawers. And then we can move on to the faces. So I've got all my faces on, my drawer faces, my doors. I don't have everything final adjusted yet, but once I do, that'll all fit a little bit better. I'm going to paint all this. I took the sheet of plywood and I just continued the grain pattern all the way across, just for the heck of it, really. But knowing that I was going to paint it, I've got some discounted paints that I picked up. They're a little bit brighter colors than I would probably use normally, but when that comes back, you'll see what I'm talking about. Well, we've got a hole here, and it's a stepped hole. It's 1 3/8 inside, and then I went about a 1/2 inch in with a 1 5/8 to make a stepped hole. And then I've just got a piece of rubber here, and I've got a slit in it. And then I've got a cap off a bottle that I cut in half with a 3/8 hole in it. Both of them have 3/8 hole, and that's going to go around this, and then I'll fit that into the hole, and that'll keep from air leaking out right there, so that I get a nice clean hole with a nice appearance. So as you can see, I've got my rubber piece and my cap in, and it fits pretty good. It's nice and tight, so I'm pretty happy with that. I had to drill the hole that big to get that plug in there. I wish they would have made it this switch so that you could took this wire out, but they had fittings on the end already sealed that wouldn't pass through the hole. Otherwise, I could have just taken the wire out and had a very small hole there. I've got all my wires on the inside screwed down. I just used some different pieces of metal and things to hold the wire. Some of those cable ties, and then I've got a hook in the back to hold the excess router, and I wanted my plug up high out of the way. That way I could reach in and get to my Triton adjustments without that stuff being in the way. And I left enough slack so that I could lift the router up out of the table so I could work. Now it's come time for my miter slot and my T-track. I'm going to have a combo system here. It's just like on my Craig table, and I'm actually taking my measurements off my Craig table because I looked on the Incra site and they lay all these measurements out for you, but their track, they orient it this way, and when they do, and you put it at their marks, my feather boards won't make it to the fence. So I'm like, that's not really going to work for me. So I'm going to turn it around just like on the Craig table, and I'm going to move it in closer, and that will put me about 1 inch away from my router plate, which is just like on the Craig table, and all my feather boards will make it. I've got Craig feather boards and Rockler feather boards, and now they both make it no problem. So the next thing is we've got to route a slot. It's 1 3/4 inch wide, but I'm going to be using my DeWalt router, and what I did was I zeroed out the bit to the table so it's just touching the table, and then I take and set my depth gauge right so that I can just get this inside of here like this, and I take my micro adjust and just get it to where it's snug. You want it just a hair of play because you want it just below the table. And now I can make my repeated passes and keep dropping the depth, and once I bottom out here, I know that I'm at the right depth for my track. I've got my track all cut out here, this dado, and now I can just drop in my track. I gave it just a little bit of play in there because at first I had it fitting really tight where I had to tap it in with a mallet. Problem was it was just too hard to get in there, so I gave it about a couple thousandths on each end there to just drop right in, which actually helps if you're putting one of these in. Make it just a hair loose, because I've noticed that that really helps out with fitting it in there just right, getting the ends so that way I can move it. And now all I have to do is drill some holes and put some screws in. Then once you get it set, just put in your screws by hand. Sometimes doing this by hand actually helps you out so you can feel the material and know if something's about to go wrong. So if I was to feel a cracking or something, I knew I could stop. But with the power drill, you may not notice it until it's too late. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish putting these in. I got my track installed now. All the screws are in. I just wanted to test and make sure that you'll see how it'll go all the way to the fence. I'm right out to the center, and I've actually could go even a little bit farther. One of the things you can do too that not a lot of people do with feather boards, you can turn this around the other way, and now you've got a stop block. Well, router table's all finished. I know it's a little bit brighter of a paint job than a lot of people probably expected from me, but this is some paint that I had left over from different projects. So the carcass is yellow, the front is green, the handles are black. I think it turned out really well. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I gained so much storage, and the biggest thing I gained was now my Incra fence is ready to go anytime I need it. I don't have to take it off the wall and mount it on my big outfeed table. I can just do this. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 places for router tables. So I should be good for a while. I don't think I'll need to make another router table. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I see you in the backyard. Man, I can't wait to put this thing through its paces. Woo! Looks good. Hi guys, welcome to the bonus features at the end of the video. I'm really glad that you stuck around because you're getting to see stuff some people may have missed. One of the things I added was air vents right here to help give even more suction, and I've got it so it goes crossways because my vacuum's on the other opposite corner, so I'm hoping it creates a cross draft. And this disc is, you can turn it and shut off the air if you need to. This is the second bonus feature. I'm showing you the completed back, or nearly completed I should say. I've got a metal furnace elbow in there with some dust collection hose attached. Got a couple wooden supports that keep that really solid. I've got a blast gate that I slid down in like a U-shaped slot. Keeps that really solid so I can just hook up my dust collection quick connect hose. I took the blast gate out and just duct taped the top, so now this is just a fitting because I didn't have the other fitting right now and I just didn't want to mess with it. So eventually I'm going to put in a Y right here with a 2-inch adapter, and then that'll go up to my fence with a hose, but I haven't ordered that yet, and I probably will once there's a sale or something in January. The other really cool thing is right over here. This is my tall extension fence for my Incra. Now I can just slip that in and out. It'll go in either way. I can have the legs wrap around at a right angle, or I can have them stick out this way if I want, and then it just sits in there like that. So now you've seen how I've added some extra features that I didn't show in the main video. I really appreciate you watching until the end. Until the next time, I see you in the backyard.